to day 5 of our 12 days of whiskey, where we're counting down the top 12 selling whiskey brands in the UK. I'm joined by Luke John.
Konnichiwa.
And today we're looking at what is the 8th biggest selling whiskey in the UK, and that is Maker's Mark. Now, Maker's Mark is distilled in Loretto in Kentucky, and the brand only came out in 1954, and it was via a buyout of an existing distillery at that stage, and I think they were using another recipe whiskey as well that they've amended some way to their own. The first bottles came out in 1958, and they've always contained the red wax, and that is, I understand, they say it's hand dipped, isn't it?
Yep. It is indeed. So it's a US hint. I think it's like one of our trademarks that it's only Maker's Mark that can dip it in to a red wax seal.
That's sneaky, isn't it? Getting that trademarked. You wouldn't be able to do that normally. So much like all the other spirits companies and brands out there, since the 1980s, they've changed hands so many times, but they currently sit under Beam Suntory. So Beam Suntory, obviously famous for Jim Beam, which was number 12 in our list, and we've said before other ones that they make. The Maker's Mark brand, they've got a few different ones in there. So you've got the original, which we have here. You've got 46, which is made in French oak. And then you've got a cellar aged and also a cask strength version. And also there was a 101 version. But at 45%, this is the highest ABV whiskey here in our list.
Yeah, I've pre-opened mine just because I don't want to look like a Wally on YouTube.
Been opening mine while talking, looking like a Wally on YouTube.
And the one thing that's good for me, going back to the previous one and talking about the heritage and history. So Maker's Mark is named Maker's Mark for a reason, and you may just be able to see the little Maker's Mark there within the circle. So what does it stand for? Well, the distillery and where Mr. Samuels used to live is called Star Farms, hence the Star. The S is for Mr. Samuels himself. It's his initial. And the 4, at the time when they came up with this mark, he was the 4th generation of distiller. That actually was incorrect because he was actually 6th generation, which he didn't know about until after he came up with the mark. The name came from his lovely wife. I think was it Marge or Maggie or something like that. But she actually came up with the name. And another interesting fact is they kind of baked loads of different types of bread to be able to get the mash bill and the flavour and the makeup of said Maker's Mark.
Talking of that, you were just off camera beforehand, you were actually saying to me about this and the makeup of it, because as we know, bourbon is using corn, and I was saying I thought this one was supposedly one of the highest corn ratios, but you were saying what else is going into it?
Yep, so it's a 70% corn. I believe it's a 16% wheat and 14% malted barley. So that is the entire mash bill of Maker's Mark.
Right, I've got mine open. Have you managed to get yours fully open?
I have, mate. It's there. Let's get it into the glass, shall we?
Yeah, let's get a look at what it is in the glass. Again, like, you're not getting any added colour in or anything on this. This is all natural, coming from the barrels that it's been stored in.
So a lovely gold, kind of a mid gold. So we've talked in the past like a light honey type of gold. This is just sitting lovely, and as Liam's just said, there is no colouring. So that to me just says flavour, to be honest.
I'm looking at yours, looking at mine, and I'll say they definitely look like they're coming out darker on camera than they do appear in person. In person, they look like they're a tone or two lighter, but I mean, by the time I put this together, who knows? It might look slightly real lifing on the camera as well. On the nose, what are we getting off this?
So the first thing for me is it's very delicate, very soft. It's got a lovely kind of maple syrup, slight vanilla, slight caramel.
Yeah, that toffee caramel. It's that sweetness, definitely, as you're saying, like maple syrup element of sweetness, and it's so. I've got a feeling. I know it sounds weird, but it's coming across soft on the nose. It's not harsh at all, is it? It's very inviting, and I'm also getting just on that big whiff there some spices coming through as well, like maybe
a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of clove.
That's quite festive as well. That nose, I like that. All right, I'm enjoying the smell of this one, and I've got a feeling it is going to taste absolutely amazing on its own. Bottoms up.
Cheers.
First hit, very earthy for me. Has very, very earth notes to begin with. But I'm also getting, oh wow. So I was getting some of that sort of nuttiness as well, or nutmeg more like it. But that pepper, big pepper afternotes, isn't it, on that? Much like we got from, I'm trying to think, what was, it was Jim Beam, wasn't it? Yeah, so same owners, but yeah. And it's just lingering around in my mouth at the moment. So I've got that pepper. It's not as strong as it was on Jim Beam, but it comes through after, and it's just lingering there with a bit of the oak.
Yeah, so for me, there's a sweetness that just drives the way through. It's bolder on the palate than the nose. The nose, very delicate, very soft. It kind of, you have a sip, and it kind of just chin slaps you a little bit. It's quite bold. There is an oakiness. Now it's kind of mid to back of the tongue. It's kind of not straightforward, but it's just there lingering in the back. Little vanilla, little bit of spiciness, them cloves coming through. Yeah, it is quite nice.
I'm getting some smoke as well now. I'm getting that smoke with it. So I got with my second sip, got the clove hit, and then straight after the clove hit, I was getting smoke hitting me at that stage. It is a sweet and warm finish, isn't it? That's just it. It hangs around in the mouth. It's sweet. It's warm. It's oak and smoke and bit of grass towards the end, along with some pepper.
Yeah, and it's kind of got a short to medium finish. It doesn't linger, doesn't hang around long.
For me, it's in the mouth. It's linger, but it's not like Jim Beam, the long length where that's hanging around. It's there, but the flavors change as well as it's hanging in the mouth. So you're going from the original sort of earthy hits with a bit of sweetness, then you're moving into the oak and the sort of smoke, and then you're moving into sort of grass and a bit of, say, like, I'm not saying there's cinnamon on the taste, but nutmeg, and still there's a sweetness at the end. In it sort of remains there, a bit of sweetness.
That That's not too bad, to be honest. It's, as I said, I think with Jim Beam, it's not complex. It's kind of, it is what it is. It's a bourbon. There's no complexity going on where you might think with a Scotch where it's got different layers. It's kind of a one size fits all type of drink.
Yeah, so the flavors are very much, as I say, hanging around that same palate area, isn't it? I think the difference with this would be the nose is so inviting, isn't it? Because it's that sweet, as you say, like maple sweetness. It's delicate, toffee caramel, but then when you take it in, you're not getting that. You're getting, well, apart from a bit of sweetness, you're getting the, oak wood, smoke and pepper, and a bit of the spices. I think it's nice to like drink it and nose at the same time, so you can get the whole range of flavors. But it is very much on that single track palette, as you say, where we're going just oak and wood, isn't it, along that way?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's certainly on the nose. It's outstanding on the nose. As I said, it's, delicate, soft. Well, that kind of doesn't arrive on the palate. So all those notes you get on the nose is it's kind of like smelling a Big Mac but eating an apple. It's kind of that contrast. You know what I mean? You've got all those nice aromas that, well, other burgers are available. I just said Big Mac because people know what it is. But yeah, it kind of gives off a lot more aroma than on the palate or the finish.
I get that, like the idea you're expecting it to be more complex and perhaps after the first sip to give way to more of those flavors that are hidden there by the stronger flavors, but it doesn't develop that way. What you're tasting is really what you're getting. There's no change on it. I'm going to be honest and say that I much prefer the Maker's Mark over Jim Beam on its own neat. The only reason being is I felt Jim Beam was it was one track for me. It was pepper all the way. Maker's Mark, I feel, has a bit more with the oak, the smoke, bit of spices, and it does leave, I feel, a little bit of sweetness in the mouth at the end, which I prefer over the leaving of pepper in my mouth.
Yep. Totally agree.
Right, any last thoughts at all?
I've certainly had better bourbons. Well, I can say that if you were going to mix this, it could open up a little bit more on the palate. But, I mean, we're doing this for 10, 12 minutes as a review, which some people might say fair, some will say it's a little unfair, kind of, let it wait, will you? Let it wait. That type of, just let it open up a bit. But, yeah, it's just an okay bourbon.
It's interesting, the ones that are in the top 12 in the UK. And, I mean, branding plays a lot. And I do wonder with Maker's Mark what it does come down to, that stylization. It stands out on the shelf. People see it, know what it is. You go to a pub and you look on the back row of a pub and you're asking for something to be mixed in. It stands out compared to the other bottles, doesn't it? Because it's got that bright red wax on it, which certainly helps. There's no doubt. But that's just me thinking on that side of why something's in there. Not because I'm disputing its flavour, just why something is a big seller, why something may not be in that list. And I think one thing we could perhaps touch on at the end, anyways, not now, is perhaps ones that have missed out on the top 12 that we feel should be in there. Something to think about over the next few days before we get there. But anyways, that was another bourbon that we've got in the top 12 or in the top 10 at this stage. We'll see you tomorrow where we'll be touching on number 7. Take care, everyone.
Matinee.